Are you Mike by chance?
I am, yeah.
Mike, I'm Jim Christopher. I'm the one who spoke with.
I don't have inside. I don't have allergies. So it's one I feel like doing this all.
That's been bad too. It's like everything decided that
Pollinate in
But,
the
They
snow.
said today was supposed to be like one of the worst days for allergies.
It's been, yeah, it has been.
Do you wear a mask more often? Because I know my neighbor is starting to wear a mask when she mows. And we're supposed to wear them all the time, but she said around her yard, it really has helped.
Yeah. They're bad. They were bad in Florida. I mean, it was Florida was pollinating. I mean, it is so bad down there. They actually light fires to burn the pollen off. It's dropped on the ground.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I saw it. I was watching the news and I've never seen them do that before.
Where's this?
In Florida. I mean, there's a layer of pollen. Where these trees are just dumping it. It's,
8 feet per
you
hour.
come out, your car's covered. You have to clean your windshield. Go.
Like snow?
Up north, when it gets that peak in the spring, it covers the whole shoreline. It's swamp, it's like it's all covered. It's an open.
Two islands a week.
Two islands, I take my boat out to.
Okay. Order the May 24th, 2022 meeting of the Groveland Township Planning Commission. It is now 7 p.m.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we will begin with the roll call, please.
Enzine,
Here.
Lachlan,
Here.
Newbill,
Here.
McKay, Shank,
Yes, ma'am.
Willis, Christopher.
Thank you, Janelle. Okay, I guess first on tonight's agenda, we will review, hopefully the committee will review the session meeting held April 26, 2022. If there's any commentary, suggested changes, revisions, observations with respect to the unapproved minutes, I would entertain those at this time.
Can I make a motion that we accept the regular commission meeting held?
Motion for approval of the regular meeting minutes held April 26, 2022. Any second? Before any further comment or question, concerns regarding those minutes? All in favor of approval of the motion? Aye. Those opposed? Motion approved. Moving along to today's agenda, everyone has received that. Chance to review. At this time, entertain a motion seeking approval of today's agenda.
Make a motion we approve
Today's agenda for
May 4th, 2022.
any further comment, questions? Those in favor of approval? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion approved. Okay, next on the agenda, communication, there are no resolutions. Communication and notices. We have, I guess, a training publication that you know provided. Through the Michigan Municipal League.
Yeah, there is some great information. Chapter 3 is really helpful. It's especially if you guys are newer to the commission, it's just something that might be nice for you to brief through, right? In all of your spare time when you're looking for something to do. But it really does have some great information in there.
No, thank you. Right, especially for those who are.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's certainly a lot to learn, always a lot to be learned, so it's a good opportunity.
She's on the bus. She'll like.
Penny? Thank you.
Any other comments?
Questions? Training opportunities we've discussed before, I know there's opportunities through the MTA that Dan talks about.
Other one move on. Next item on communications and notices
Is relative to the fishback contract approval. There were some materials in the packet.
Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review the training. And obviously, the fishback recommendation was later approved by the township board. And I guess per that approval, there was agreement that was signed recently by Supervisor Palmer upstairs here. If you want to,
It was just you had suggested that you wanted to have somebody like to look at it. Jim really, I think you have a kind of an inquiry vision with the question. But so the process was first you have to ask for it. Sign a contract. So after you guys talked about it, the board said okay, and then the contract was Tuesday or Wednesday, something like that. So I just called in to make sure that still wanted to sign it. I did.
and I guess the agreement speaks for itself. Essentially, for our recommendation, to serve as the township consultant, subject matter expert, if you will, for review of the engineering suggestions that would be proposed by Roe. On behalf of Roe tonight, I understand?
Yes.
Okay. So your name is Bonnie. Bonnie, thank you for coming. And somebody's here from Fishback also.
Mike
Labadee?
Labadee?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
I guess just with regard to the scope, as I indicated, the scope is fairly simple. It was just to
Get it highlighted. Bear with me.
parking and traffic analysis. I guess just one question I had will maybe serve as a segue into the further discussion with the Renaissance Festival folks, is just the time frame with regard to the report of Fishback. Obviously, you're going to be reviewing recommendations per proposal of Roe. I guess my abiding concern is we kind of,
The days.
matriculate a way to get you closer to the open of the festival. And hopefully our dialogue here tonight will address the timing of Fishback's ability to provide a report to the commission to give us that subject matter review that they're seeking.
As a
Following the Roe proposal. So we can get into that further. But that's just one concern I would voice at the outset as we begin, fairly begin the meeting tonight. I invite anyone else, to try to have their thoughts. But with regard to the Fishback contract approval, is there any other thoughts, suggestions, questions regarding what's
provided here tonight? Okay.
The purpose is pretty clear, scope of the agreement.
Is that,
Moving on to item number 10, there's no public hearing tonight. So item number 10 is old business. And this brings us back to an update regarding our Renaissance Festival progress.
I know that Kathy is here.
This is your son. Your name again, sir? Jason. Jason Parker? Yes. Jason, thank you. I know there's been some emails exchanged that were provided in the materials tonight. I'm not sure if anyone's got a suggestion as to how best to kind of,
You know,
through the materials to
so
garner an update. I guess the best way to do would just to open it up to Kathy if you want to. There's a pretty developed record as to what we've collectively asked.
of the commission or of the festival at this point. So where do we stand?
So you have a list of your questions.
Yes.
Correct, and I know you've had,
And that's the way we've always, that's what we've always done. Easiest for the board that way. They can just go right down the list. And the response that we have given, usually is if the response you gave brings up more questions or whatever on your part, then you ask me more questions and I'll answer all
I think that's a great idea, and you're right, that's the way we've done it to date. So what I have, or what I would resort to tonight is the email. This would be, Kathy, this would be your response dated May 16th.
day for
At exactly 4 o'clock and 19 seconds. Well, again, that shows it's not a recognition of an effort to adhere to the deadlines. we've set
There's
up.
just so many people who try and get to understand this is important, that you have to answer your questions. And then, I mean, it's.
Well, for our part, I guess all we can do is, very clearly identify and communicate to you on behalf of the festival what our expectations for this year. And hopefully you feel we've been fair and communicated and conveying that to you and to
Your folks.
With regard to the email, at your suggestion, if anyone else has another plan,
Entertain that.
I would just go through them again in sequence. These were the bullet points that came out of the April 26th regularly scheduled planning commission meeting.
And we'll go through them in order.
For the email. The first one regarding the use of digital signs. The response was that, and I'm going to read it verbatim. These signs will be utilized during the week to let patrons know of the upcoming events and festival. On weekends and when needed, they will be used to let patrons know about any traffic issues, closures, emergencies, etc.
And one addition to that is, as I sat and thought about it, another thing, what, on those days that especially with this days, it would help sign to also do the collection. I mean, the work all it's just they can tell people as they're coming down Bridge Hall that what lane they need to stay in. And that's what that's one time to do is give them so much direction that they don't mess it up. And they don't need to come down both lanes of traffic. So they want something that's the way to stay. In that case, the left lane. Because that's the turn.
Now, I'm just going from memory here, but at the last meeting, help me out. Was there a concern regarding whether those signs would be purchased or leased?
We're leasing them. And the reason we're leasing them is because there's so much, everything is in the world is changing. Those signs included. And so, whereas last time we were able to rent one was in 2019. We couldn't do it ourselves. We couldn't make changes to it ourselves. That's not the way they worked. So we had to get a hold of somebody in a facility. So not now, not the rule case. But next year will be different. So if we lease the new ones every year, then we're going to have the most advantage.
And, giving you the keys, to use your term, that is spelled out in the lease agreement with the sign company,
Yes.
the sign vendor.
Yeah.
Does anyone on the commission, are we satisfied with the explanation of the
That item.
we've got the invoices from State Barricade. Just want to make sure from your standpoint, any issues you're aware of, delivery should be on time. You've been given complete control over the messaging on the board, all the issues we've worked
Yes,
through.
and the people that we're running it from, I mean, now that they have the capacity to give us the ability to do that, they're happy to do it. I mean, the fact that I was calling them on the weekends.
This is what they're-
And
it's for the
making
consultant.
them work, yeah, they get that, so now I know it's on us, so that we can recover.
This is what you want.
They just let it down. You don't have to worry about it. So, yeah, it'll work out.
That's
there
that's
a plan for any sessions that they may give you guys?
They just. It's like any other basic.
Yeah.
Offers. Show
Okay.
myself that I'll show my, in case I'm having.
Right, right.
Will they give you a book?
It's not that complex.
Okay,
They're,
okay.
they're.
He's helping.
They're not complex.
Okay,
Okay,
any further questions?
I guess we should
Therefore, move
therefore
on
move on
to
the second point of discussion, and that would be
the sheriff's post orders.
Uh,
We respond to their an email sent earlier. Thursday on the 16th.
It was actually Chip's response. Chip was never got that for us.
And I guess my question, Janelle, was that included?
It does not appear that it has been included in here. I don't know. I have not seen that email, but I would not have been the one to receive it either. So what I can recommend is to Danielle when she returns is that she forward those post orders to you. And just a reminder, what those are is essentially where they are going to be located and working.
For the 2022 event?
Correct. Am I correct?
What, I'm sorry.
Those post orders. Since I have not seen that email, we have not seen that email. If you don't mind, just a quick summary of what's included for the commission.
With the post order?
Yeah.
I would have to see it.
I believe it's just showing where they are and how they orchestrate traffic and stuff, correct?
Okay.
Knowing them, it'll probably just tell us how many people we're gonna have, who they are, where their ships are.
Okay.
When they come in, depending on if it's rain, or if we've already got, you know, at 8 o'clock in the morning, the cars in the parking lot, so we know it's busy. We place them, and we quite often don't have people on the drive. Then we start with, maybe we can send you guys to the festival, make sure you like it. But we like to think how they work. It's-
okay, so that's just a
Yeah.
sound.
I don't know what happened, though, because he told me.
He may have, it's just, it wasn't included in the packet.
Okay.
Subject to that, any other questions? Kathy or Jason?
Chase. We got to the post.
Okay, third item on the list following our April 26th meeting was
To
research, look into the possibility of signing
I-75. And their response
that we are working with MDOT for permits for the electronic message signs on I-75, exits 101 and 106. It will be in place by August
10th, 2022.
There is a little bit kind of an issue, but it's only with their website. So, but we're still gonna say that they're like, it's gonna be like, it's a monster, and I'm trying to. It's just, and we have a history, all our information we need to. I just have to update dates, stuff like that. But I couldn't get them onto their website. We'll have it this week, I'm sure.
And then, Kathy, do you know what those signs would say?
They say exit here, or they will either say exit Pier 106, Michigan Renaissance Festival.
So these would be
But we-
portable.
They're the same ones like and that uses the roll work, but we're requesting the same signs like I think we had Dixie. So if we run into the problem on Dixie where we're saying to people, you know, the festival's closed or no parking lot, whatever, you can change those signs also. So maybe they won't be off the expressway.
All right.
So
So who will be the one controlling the message?
Signs
Sign located 75.
The way it's standing right now will be us. Just like
Okay.
Is there a written agreement?
Chip should be set for it, that's all. We still have to run that.
There's no problem getting the rent. I mean, no,
Yes, they're not a problem.
Do you have, you know, as an attorney,
Written assurances.
Right.
Do you have any sense or confirmation as to when these
you know,
permits or when that would be available?
Once I can get into the website and I send them, it usually takes about 2 weeks.
Would we have them by, what's the?
what's the date of our next meeting? Is it June 24th?
Let me look. 28th.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. I mean,
Okay.
they tried to help. So I'll just tell them I did.
Good.
It's not, we've done it, we've already done it for, 16, 17 years. It's not like it's a new thing. So this shouldn't be complicated.
Well, it always sounds easy until it's not, right?
It's just, let's keep it up to time. Everybody should go on and look at it.
Like going to the doctor and yes, you get an X-ray and they ask you your entire medical history for the last 50 years.
Just a correction for the next meeting, third Tuesday of every month, so it may be.
No.
It's a 4th.
fourth Tuesday of the month, always the fourth.
Is it? Yes.
Yes, always.
I'm sorry.
Or 25.
What is the date, Kathy?
For the festival this year?
20th?
Any other questions?
Concerns regarding the I-75 sign through up.
Okay, next item on the list is looking into overriding the GPS system.
I'm gonna need a little help with this one, Becky.
Your response, anyways, we're
Anyways.
still seeking answers to this question from what I've gathered from my IT friends. This cannot.
This is one of the things Chip's working on, and that was his response. I mean, I will be surprised if we can. achieve the cost.
This kind of gets back to what the issue
What
was,
For example, regarding Google Maps, when you go through and read
Yes.
directions,
if for some reason there's an issue with taking the main roads from the freeway to the festival, sometimes it diverts folks to Van Road. So the question that was raised was, is there ability to somehow
have that.
prevent that from happening at least during this time? I know MDOT can do it for construction in terms of closures. So I don't know if there was something that could be put in place, almost like a construction type of, don't go down this road closed or something along
Well,
those lines.
that's one of the reasons, we had to have new signs made, right, but I did change them, so as an example, from the time they get off of the expressway, it's telling them what lane to be in, and they have to stay in that lane. I mean, it's just like left lane only is really good at festival. If we give them that kind of direction, it might help somewhat. And the only other thing we can do is to put it on, we'll lighten it up, but to put something on the website and we'll send it out when we have the app that tells them, yeah, don't listen to your GPS, because you don't need to take all sorts of roads. the only way in, there's only one road in. Yes, and that's Dixie Highway. I don't know what more to do with that subject.
Yeah.
I mean, as many things, I mean, if you guys think of something, let me know. I mean, I'll, once I get whatever we're gonna put up, I'll send it to you. And then you guys can add to it, change it, that'd be great. I mean, I'll help, but, I think if we're clear enough with them, the people, at least with those people that really care. they'll pay attention. So. That's all I know.
So Chip is
Chip
still
is-
researching.
He is, but he's not, I don't, it doesn't sound to me like he's.
Certain that MDOT and the road commission, whoever, they have access to changing Google Maps.
Yeah.
Google Maps create, I can't imagine.
Google,
If you said that, my brain kind of exploded a little bit, because
Well, no, and
you're
it's,
changing such a big tech and asking them.
there's a process, right? So whenever there's,
It's a program, right?
no, it goes beyond that. It's literally, it's not quite real time, but it's pretty darn close. So, for example, if there is, all of a sudden an issue where there needs to be an immediate road closure. It's up. Someone,
Let's say
someone
the
that.
road closed, the road actually closes, right? And there's a back of it, so Google, no, it's beyond that. Okay.
No,
That's
it's,
interesting.
it's in there. Construction updates, for example. So it will tell you exactly where the construction is at. As well as, okay, if there's a certain exit or entrance ramp that's closed off due to that construction, say on the freeway, it will have that, and it'll have that for that given period of time. So I'm saying is, I think that's tied to each state's Department of
It
Transportation.
sounds like something that they would be given in advance though. I mean, that if construction's going on,
No,
they know.
it can't be in too far advance.
No,
It's
but
not
it's
in
in
advance,
24
but
hours.
That's interesting. I'll
Yeah,
look into it this week.
my point is. My point is, this could be something that could be given to, and whether it's an MDOT responsibility or, I don't think it's the road commission, I think it has something to do with MDOT. Where if they give advance notice to say during this time, Van Road is considered closed. I mean, I don't know if they'll do it because it's not because of construction, right? Or not because of an
They
incident.
might not think it's important.
Right,
The road's not technically closed if you're going.
right.
That's the
That
difference.
may be the issue.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've not had much luck getting Google to change it. And they got us.
Yeah, it's
they
not-
got us open right now.
It's not Google. It would have anything to do with Google. It would have to, it would basically be MDOT or the entity that basically has Google, that pushes those updates to Google.
Well, we can definitely. Well, and Jason,
Yeah, I'll.
we can help check
Yeah.
that. Look at it.
Yeah.
I'd love to just say I can show people.
But I can't imagine that you could possibly back, I'm a terrorist, so I'm gonna say all these things are closed, so I can really get these people.
Well, no, that's why it's through certain entities, i.e. through your state Department of Transportation.
But again, they need it within a few minutes or an hour, and they don't have the time to say.
Yes, and I think when you're calling out background checks, then it's not how you do it.
I think it's,
Because they know when they close the branch on the expressway with 659.
yeah, I think that's
These
all.
are all county roads,
Right.
including Dixie Highway.
And that's why I think it may not be possible, but I thought, well, let's at least inquire and see if it's not possible, it's not possible. I mean, you're going through MDOT signs for
Right.
75, right? So, and it may not even be possible.
Well, I'm fairly certain if Chip comes to the conclusion,
For whatever reason, don't represent it as such.
some good basis to question it, but right now, just wait and see what he says. Some,
You know, the problem is with, I mean, Chip has his own list of people he talks to. And so it's, sometimes he gets different answers than we get. And then.
So you're
So
telling
you're
me
telling me
there's a
there's a chance.
Always.
The glass is half full, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, unless there's any other commentary on that, I'm going to move on to the next. Which is the follow-up with the road commission for Oakland County to check status of signs.
Your response
Is that you emailed Alex at the road commission with no response as to the
is
status of our
status of our
signs.
signs.
Did tell
He
me
did
last
tell
time
me
we
last
talked.
time we talked that everything had been turned in and was being.
We're also having other signs for Dixie Highway and Grange Hall Road made, so they are at code.
We
Some
believe
of the
that
changes will help direct the traffic.
more effectively.
Just directing them to, left lane only. And sometimes little things like that trigger people to actually do this.
If I understand what you're saying is that the road commission, if this was along perpendicular routes into Dixie Highway, Perryville Road, namely, the posting of seasonal signs there, correct? And if I recall correctly, we did have something in written form from the road commission. Their willingness to, provide signage per request.
Yeah, and I thought this was along the lines of no parking.
Right, and that's what that
No
was.
parking, violators will be told something.
So at first, I know at first they said, no, we couldn't do it. But then Chip's were talking to them. I'm before that, Chip took all the stuff that he got up for. And so talking to the road commission and signs, he does that kind of stuff anyway. So he has connections with those people. So he's found somebody that said that they might be able to work it out, I guess.
Well, and that's when your response actually caught me a little off guard, because I was almost in my mind thinking that one's like a checkoff, we're done with it, right? And so this is kind of a step back, if now the road commission is now indicating that.
What was it?
They have responded to the your status
Yes.
report.
Okay, and then I know Chip was trying to get him to respond. And then I brought up the fact with Chip that while he was looking at those signs, he ignored the whole pile of signs. So the same person is the person I have to go for that. And he has not responded to me. But he will.
Okay.
Well, I guess this goes to the seat of uncertainty here with regard to, the signs along Perryville, the no parking violators will be towed. Those, at least in my humble opinion, are a crucial element here. So that.
Here's from last meeting, we've got.
That's
the
the
application.
application.
There was
Clearing roads, no parking signage.
Permit application.
I got notes that said Louise needed a better site plan at ours, the road commission, in 1922 and submitted a check. Cashed.
So, and this was presented to us in conjunction with the April 26th meeting. So what Neil is pointing out is what seems to be I guess, an executory lease with prepayment to the road commission regarding the signage. So,
And what Chip said was that they were gonna let us, it looked like they were gonna let us put them on Perryville. We couldn't do anything about overage. And that's because the state police have no jurisdiction there.
This just very there.
and I don't think we had any problem with that.
You can't put no parking signs. Well, you cannot put no parking signs any place. And there was one, I guess.
What does it take to get a traffic order?
You usually go to Alex, road commission, he fills out the paperwork, I talks to one of two guys, and like, it does it. Created the mood and the stars, the guy who actually did it to you. It's a very cumbersome process. I'm still trying to get to the road part, no parking because of the Frisbee golf or whatever it is that they do in the park grounds there. And thought we had it all ironed out, and the lieutenant up there got on the phone with him and Alex, and the guy said, well, we don't think we really need that, show them the church backed up, so Alex, pickleball, that's why I have a Frisbee game, so you can get a hold of the guy in Lansing. See the partner.
Well,
It's very cumbersome process.
I will try, I'll make it a priority in the next few days to get Alex to be responsive.
The key.
Yeah, it sounds like, I wasn't so much because Chip was doing it, but I think that we'll just go ahead and forward with it.
Yeah, I don't want to relax too much on it because it's an important.
It is, no, it is, but it is, I was just letting Chip have the time.
So again, looking ahead to, we have a 60-day window of time that we've
I guess.
asked for everything to be finished for
Yes.
our
For
final
review, so when we get into the,
approval process for the special use permit, we kind of know we have all the cards on the table. So if we have,
I'm pretty confident that we're gonna do it. I mean, we are moving in directions and getting that stuff. I mean, on the IFCOM, it's in some instances, is that we have to look at it. So on the IFCOM of you guys approving the new exit, we've already got a contract to look at. We've got materials being dropped at our site because we have to be ready to go.
we're gonna get to that.
I know, I'm just
We're gonna
saying,
get to that.
there's a lot of stuff moving though, and I think that we can. I mean, I know that you guys, the problem of the backup is a situation that you, and I take it seriously, it's not as though I don't. But we've always come up with an answer, and we've also always managed, no matter what the situation is, to find the resolutions that we can all live with. I mean, and there's other things before I leave that I'm gonna ask, I won't ask now, but, because there's certain things that would give me a comfort level.
So why don't we do this to try to light a fire under Alex? I would suggest that the planning commission gives Kathy a deadline of Wednesday of the week. Have email from Alex indicating that that this is locked in, and the scope of the sign. So, this almost like I want to call it a contract, for lack of a better term, but some kind of email communication that says, yes, you will receive on such and such date the following signs. And then that way you can communicate to Alex, and reach out to Alex that you have a deadline by Friday to provide an answer back to the planning commission in regards to making sure that this is solidified. And because right now there's very little documentation that indicates that this is final besides a check cashed. And I'm not too sure on how binding in terms of the documentation that we received, and also too how thorough it is to really indicate the details behind exactly what signs are going to be provided.
I agree with you. And unfortunately, Kathy, when you're dutifully trying to accomplish our
agenda for this year's event, you have to rely on the
cooperation of third parties. Okay, unfortunately, it's not acceptable for us to be told that your third party vendor, road commission, is not giving you an answer, because that creates a dilemma for you.
Well, it does, but it creates one for all of us.
And if this was a normal situation, then I would be, if this was a normal situation where you were not wanting what you're wanting, which is an update, is if I can give you one every day you want that, I get it. But if that wasn't happening right now, then I'd still have a problem with ballots, but it would get solved.
So I think what Angela's suggesting is reasonable under the circumstances.
Sure, I think you can go ahead and give us that and we'll show them with it. I honestly don't know if that will make a big difference. I don't know what authority you have for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, but I mean,
And I'm just saying, you know, but it's just, if everybody said, if everybody just, I have more authority with him right now because I'm a citizen that has a business that I'm trying to defend. And he knows what we have to have. And being unresponsive is not acceptable. And that's exactly what he's gonna hear from me tomorrow. So you can do whatever you like and I will respectfully utilize it if necessary. But I intend to make sure it happens. And I will use the same deadline, no problem.
Well, it looks like you gave them a signed lease agreement. Again, it's executory, it's not signed, sealed, and delivered. You paid a deposit for the arrangement.
I'm not making excuses.
No, but it's his shortcoming in just giving you an update.
It's his shortcoming and I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but I don't know if Chip can muster the same attitude that I do. There's a certain camaraderie in government, and being the sheriff and being MDOT and being the road commission, all puts them into the same club. I'm not in that club, and so I don't care. And so I don't have to smile nicely and say I get it, you know, they're overreacting, but look, we have to help them. I don't have to do that because it's not acceptable. So I think whatever you'd like to do is fine, we'll get it.
Well, maybe just some response within a week
Yeah,
as to where that item stands with the signage and road commission. But at this point in time,
Again,
we can ask. At the next scheduled meeting, June.
The hope is that we'll have some commitment or
Meaningful, something to rely upon as a public body here from the road commission. That's what we're searching for.
And that's what we will work on.
Any other comments on that item?
if you.
Moving on to the next item would be as follows. Provide additional details regarding a contingency plan for both short-term and long-term concerns. It was noted that rural engineering
Will
some of this, however, the commissioners did seem to focus on that quite a bit. Okay, that's outlined in some fashion at the next meeting to prevent any additional concerns. The response to that was, with the addition of the exit drive and the way we are reconfiguring the traffic, the problem should be alleviated. We are activating several lines of beefing up the system, dubbing the parking access in the south parking lot, increasing more direct signage, increasing the parking staff, the additional phone app that will allow us to communicate with our patrons in real time. That's a big item, I guess, at this point, since we have no
Representative, and I'm totally did not write your name down again. Bonnie Wood.
I guess if you could elaborate a bit,
You know, what Rose come up with at this point in time.
Well, we were together.
Although, that's the first part of what we had to do, that's kind of what we accomplished at this point, is by identifying the 200 parking spots and the parking lots. And then 4,832 in the southern part and provided specify with that layout and how they would be helpful to chalk the lines for the constituents with the festivals, and they will have this for their staff to fill out the space. And if they, get this right away, to spots, and will operate that as a one-way. Middle runway and around the exit. Quarter mile other exit, so help with the traffic. Gross input at this point.
And then, you know, working with the festival
to come up with their, how they all want to make it all work and flow with the different contingency plans too.
And as the festival's going on, our consensus
And actually get some data, see what's going on. Solid numbers too.
Right. A monitoring of this year's event for future use, in other words.
Yes.
So
I guess the first two items that you described, one would be parking.
just, I want to kind of compartmentalize.
For the benefit of Fishback here also, so you have a broad understanding of
What the,
what the ask is and what what Brooke's objective is. Parking, and then also the driveway. So maybe if we could just discuss the parking first. There's been a study just with regard to capacity of parking spots on the property.
Yes.
As it currently exists, this is not anything that envisions approval or disapproval of the proposed driveway.
Correct. This is spots that have been put in that area.
And any questions, do you have any?
How does
Last year,
additional
spots and
capacity compared to last season?
I'm not sure exactly.
So this is just a similar layout to what we had.
Yeah.
It's similar. I guess, when I started on this project, they hadn't looked at other areas, figuring out additional spots for additional parking. So those have all been moved.
Connie, there were two different overheads provided with.
I want you, I think you guys want to print out.
No, I was given them. I wasn't sure.
One per-
Parking and which one pertained to.
One's the northern parking lot.
Zoom in this area right here. So this is the south parking, and then this is the north parking. So you get the south parking entrances here. So all this Golden Lake, and Water Lake over here. So this is in area here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Maybe I'm incorrect here, but I thought the purpose of aligning the parking spots was to help give guidance to the Renaissance Festival in terms of chalking the lines, as well as indicating, if there's a need to do like one way versus another way, the actual parking lot itself.
And that's what we have been talking about.
Yeah.
And you should just mention talking about.
Right, so here's kind of the typical little detail, how, we set up cars to park,
Right.
20-foot gap. So they would go through, walk those lines, to help out with the parking. And, the big thing is maximize that parking, and if you get your staff training,
Right.
well,
And
to,
keeping it one way takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. I mean, there's one way in and a separate way out, and there'll be no deviation from that. And I'm talking about day one. So at first we thought, well, you know, we were set, what, internally, we were thinking, well, it's not really so bad, it gets busier later. But day one, it's gonna be what we do, because we have to retrain them. I mean, they're used to doing what they do. And so we need them now to understand there's a new way to do business, and so they can come in the lot this way, but they have to exit out the other side. And we're having, that's when I talk about additional signs. That's part of it. Some of it is no exit signs to be on the back of enter only signs in the parking lot. So there's gonna, as they come in, they'll see enter only. Is if they start to come that way, they'll see signs that say no exit. So if there's one curve.
Taking into account the wetlands, because sometimes when it's extremely wet, you can't park cars.
The wetlands, but yeah, the wetlands are on the other side, and the wetlands that affect us most, I think.
So she's
aware of where we will have to, when we have a tremendous amount of rain, you can't park here. So automatically, the number of people coming in has to drop.
There's
will.
about 1 acre roughly of the northwest corner of the north parking lot, south parking lot. So it's on south, is about 1 acre property that is raining out. You can't park. So it's very seldom we ever.
But on the days that it's raining, when that would actually take effect, people won't come.
But if it's been raining Thursday, Friday, then Saturday it could be, but it could be a flood in that area.
Sure.
Yeah. Yes. And the busiest we've ever been, and it was a screw up on our end, with my parking crew, but busiest we've ever been last year, on that, southwest coast 575. I had 68 acres that never got parked. So it was just, we should have parked further back. So that 1 acre of property, technically, we shouldn't need to use. And that winter area, we're gonna beef up and put in that drive. So that whole area is gonna be beefed up anyways. So I'm great over there, I already have scheduled, that's, every dirt company there is out here along with, gravel companies. So we have a plan. So that 1 acre. It's gonna be.
There's a lot of holes, Jeff.
So that is, it sounds like you're adding 6 acres of parking that was not available for parking.
Yeah, you're correct. I'm saying because last year during our busiest day, the day I had shut the parking lot down, they Kathy directed me to shut the parking lot down. Yeah, no. Started parking. Started all the way back against the tree. That's my crew to do. And identify who parked too far forward. And so I lost about 6 acres, 68 acres of parking.
So this
Layout is still the same
parking
parking spaces with the,
improvement of the one-way traffic and the additional exit.
And they're training,
And it won't take away from the parking, because where we had the berm, there had to be a space that happens to be 20 feet, so 25 feet, but, so putting that road in isn't gonna take any parking spaces away, which was a concern by somebody. So that shouldn't be an issue at all.
Just a question, in years past, have the parking spaces been chalked?
No.
Okay, so
That presumably would greatly assist in better utilizing the space, I would think. It's supplement to.
It will, within the, so chalking lines, it's not for the patrons. Because you as a patron that pulls onto our site will never look at chalk. Not paying attention. That's my their job at.
Right.
Fair.
And we're gonna have different this year.
And so that will bring them up to that line where they need to stop or that we have maybe a foot or two leeway, so we have one person that pulls our board.
guy behind him, make sure if there is an order built, how I keep them.
And I guess just from my understanding, is Rose,
I guess
effectively talking here, is Rose going to be putting a formal recommendation together that would incorporate all the evidence here? Is this the traffic and parking study that I guess we generically refer to? Because I listened to Jason, and I know that, you know, the parking, chalking obviously ties together with the flow of the traffic, ties together with the addition of the driveway,
driveway.
and all of that is going to be incorporated in the report through the who's that? Fair?
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
do that. I, you know, I work for her, so.
Well, I guess
I'm gonna give her all the desk right in my office, and she can come sit with me.
Okay, because I'm
No,
sure.
but yes, it is that, yes, you will get, that's what I assumed is what we need to do, is what
Yes.
you're asking. The only thing is I would qualify by saying, it's not, it will be incomplete, because Will Engineering will continue to work for us through the show, to
Understood.
finish out everything.
Understood, it's up.
I can see how you would maybe like step by step.
Look at it,
Yeah.
based on what you're laid out today, so.
I have the question.
I haven't seen this. But I just like them. At any point, there will be an analysis that says, for example, just under 10,000. It says 10,000 parking spots. Hypothetically, last year maybe it was 9,600, so it's a 4% increase or whatever it is. And that by utilizing the difference that Jason's talking about for apartment adds another 5 or 6%. And then I know they have this shifts, like it says, we talk for how many people show average car. So that includes the X number of people, that number of people fit in the festival. Is that number of cars that's in there added? When does it back up? Because I think, I have no doubt that putting another drive in and changing the direction of traffic and adding better traffic people and all of that stuff will make it better. What I'm trying to get a handle on is quantitatively, what do these changes represent? I would think if you look at it like an engineer, you'd be saying, well, when they're doing mileage on a car, if you put different tires on, we get a half a mile a gallon more. If we put a different catalytic converter on, it's good for a mile a gallon. It's the same kind of thing here. You got X number of spots. How many have we squeezed out of it by this recommended design? How many people does that typically have? How much does that compare to what last year's daily attendance is? Because I have no doubt that a lot of these changes will make some improvements. The question is, does the number of improvements come up to the magnitude of the problem, I guess? And if not, how do we get to the playing field? That's the part.
The magnitude of the problem is a little elusive, because, and that's one of the problems with what we're all talking about and the way it's being talked about. Is we can go at and fix and make changes for the things that we witnessed and went through already. I can try and use my imagination what might happen next. But there's always the chance, there always will be, that something will happen that's unforeseen, that hadn't happened before. And then we have to address that. It's like anything else. There's no place in this township or in this country that isn't true. That's not true. Things are always changing. And the things that happened last week, we could be working hard to fix, and all of a sudden something falls apart this week.
But you do have, you do have the final count. That's 9,800 now identified, right? That will be chalked. So my thought would be, I would say, okay, when I get to, if I've got my parking to, when I get to that point where I'm at 9,700 or 9,750, and I'm getting close to that capacity part, I'm ringing the alarm to the police officers to say, hey, look, we only got 100 spots left. We gotta get a plan together to start getting people.
And it's only 10 o'clock, and the first wave of people who come in aren't leaving yet.
Yeah, there's gotta be some.
Those conversations that heads up and that information is passed along. We're it's constant. We're always, and there's always Jason he'll be riding through the parking lot all day long and knows how many slots we have left and when we're about ready to be full in certain areas and things like that. And that is given to the sheriff's department. And it wasn't that we had reached a maximum capacity for parking that caused what happened this year. It was influx and exiting at the same time with only one row, and it just went smash. I mean, there was just too many trying to get out, too many trying to get in, and nobody budging, nobody willing to have a little etiquette and let someone pass.
Jenny?
I have a question in regard to the diagrams. So I'm looking at the north parking diagram first. The north parking entrance, earlier in the day, in the morning, you have two lines of incoming traffic with one line of exit traffic, and it's only going right. And your southbound, for your south parking lot is doing the same. It's going to be taking, which I can't believe that would really take people from the north turning right, because odds are great they're going to already get in from, unless you shut down this other entrance. The north parking lot is north, this one's south. So somebody coming southbound on Dixie Highway is going to come in the north entrance. Odds are great they're not going to come past and come into the south.
They won't.
Okay, so
That's their, I was happy that they did have, there's some people that would come up to the south and come in there and they were.
well, then they would be making a left-hand turn into the parking lot, the southbound parking lot. I guess my point is when you actually think about how the traffic is flowing, I would see all northbound traffic going into the north lot, and maybe all southbound traffic going, or all the northbound traffic going into your
And
southbound.
that's what we do.
Okay, well, that's not indicated on this.
So that is what we do.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing for several years now.
Okay.
And it actually, it's like, people are in that in our sheet, it's kind of like how we've been training, this, can't be
Okay,
pointing out.
this diagram just doesn't reflect that.
So we've been doing that, people are listening, and so it's easier for them to come in and exit that way.
And then when it's time to leave in the PM, you have traffic leaving and making lefts and rights from both exits.
They are, the people in the north parking lot have to go north. The people in the south are forced to.
That might not be.
That is
indicated.
not what this indicates.
Yeah.
But that is what happens.
Is that the?
Okay, it may be what happens, but this is what,
I know, and so now it's a good thing to bring up because it's, so we bullet this, thank you. We keep sitting here. So now we know what the next thing we're talking about is. Yes, because.
I was assuming that they did it, but I didn't have to.
And on the south parking lot where it says, apparently, it says that we have 2 lines coming in, 1 exit. That's not true. That entrance isn't big enough to accommodate that. 1.5 cars wide.
So this would just be one part.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the
it
cops,
sounds
the cops
like it.
force people to move.
So I think probably just what, and I know you guys are indicating, yeah, there's things that you do as part of your protocol. Get it in writing.
Yeah.
And get it over to us because that folds into the plan. Because otherwise, I mean, if that was included in terms of here's what we have been doing as well as in addition to, along with whole plan, and stuff, you have something more comprehensive that we can sink our teeth into. The more information you provide, the better chances you're gonna get a permit, right? So even include what you're doing today. what you have to do.
I don't disagree with what Kathy's saying at all about other things happen and they always will. My problem is that I think there needs to be some assessment of what the various improvements that they're proposing to do this year. I think the traffic engineer can make an assessment, like adding a one-way left turn exit ramp out of the south lot should eliminate some X percentage of traffic. It may not be finite, but there's got to be a way to get a handle on what's the likely benefit of the various changes along the way. And the part that concerns me the most is, I understand something that you or I have never thought about happening. But we need to have the plan that says, whatever that is, this is how we fix it immediately with plan B. And that's the problem. And I don't know how you get there without being able to evaluate what you do today, what the likely impact of the various changes you're making are likely to do. And then in the event that it doesn't flow that way or something else that we don't know happens, here's how we stop it right away before it gets to complete grid line. That's what my concern is, because I think when we have a system that says, we didn't figure this, it is something new that we never anticipated, but when all that happens and it goes to heck in a bushel basket anyway, this is how we fix it, and we get it done quick. Because that's the only way we're ever going to stop this vicious circle of, well, you know, one time it was the closed part of Dixie or I-75. Another time it was because some parking people didn't show up or whatever. What you have to have an ironclad plan that says when X, Y, and Z don't happen, this is what does happen, and it happens right away. You clear it up. Then you won't have people complain because they won't say, I can't get it out of my house. Or, I can't get up and down Dixie. The fire department won't say I had to drive down the side of the road the wrong way to get to somebody for a medical emergency. All that will disappear if you have it executed correctly. And the incentive for the Renaissance Festival to continue to find ways to fix it is, when that happens, it curtails some of your clientele. I want you to be successful. A lot of people here like the Renaissance Festival, but it's got to get to where it works so that when they're doing it, they know that it's not going to have the negative aspects it has at the time something goes wrong. And that's the part I haven't personally heard so far.
Jim, I have a few questions. Bonnie, if it's appropriate, can you tell the board what you believe road scope of work is?
Well, I have a letter that says, we were gonna do the traffic plan and then we're coming back to do the traffic plan. That's what's going on. And then Kathy to help her develop her contingency. That's why the board.
And the contingency plan, can you describe what you feel that would fit up?
I would like to have a check, basically a checklist that's going down, it's like, so this is all filled up, so we're up to divert people over to the south lot, since north lot's full.
That would be the,
Kind of divert people through that connector road that they have, start parking them in the south, or to just close the gates.
It's gonna,
So there's some things that I need to have conversation.
one of the things was the last meeting that I heard, and that's why I was waiting to ask, but there seems, the last couple of years, I've been really worried about Mount Holly, because it was given over to that, I don't know what it's called. I always call it the wrong thing. So, and it, within their infinite wisdom, they picked the time to be busy when others are busy, and I honestly will never understand how that happened. But no, in fairness, we have, if it was something that we were doing that was encroaching on their space, it would be equally as important. If you want to control things, if you want everything out there to go the way you want it, then you have to look at the big picture, not just part of it. And having their few thousand people on the 5th and 6th weekend is not smart.
Well, the problem with that is that the park, I'm sure, actually probably gave no consideration to it at all. It becomes difficult for the township to get in a position to say, you can't use your facility in the summer when you want it, because it conflicts with another activity.
Okay.
I'm just saying, they're
I
not
get
gonna
it.
do it. The county leased that park for almost $100,000 last year. And their game plan is to step that up quite a bit. The individual companies lease it for time frames in specific. And so that particular event, Fest, this is the 4th year it's been on. It's not like he wasn't doing it. I don't honestly see how I can go to the county and say, I know we helped you get this ORV park that you had a court order for over 40 years to develop, but I forgot to tell you, you can't use it on these weekends because they're busy filling up Dixie Highway. They're not gonna
I
say
get it,
that.
but I still maintain, more attention could have been paid to that decision by someone. I'm not saying it.
Well, you
but my
could have gone to the
point-
park
okay,
and
but
talked to them about it.
my point isn't about that. My point is it sounded to me like Mount Holly was now available again. So as,
I think it is, because I don't know if we're gonna even have it for the ORV park, I mean, for the car show.
well, I got a letter from the people that own it, that say I have rights to it during the weeks that we're open from now till the end of time. Because they got sick of it every year, we bugging them. That's what.
Thank you.
Thank you,
So,
Kathy.
Mr. Christopher, something to add to that. Bonnie, we calculate the approximate 10,000 parking spots. What does that equate to in terms of the number of humans that can attend?
I'm not really sure how many folks do that, but most people I would think would go with friends, so.
That would say, in theory, 20,000 people, the maximum capacity.
If we only had some.
The numbers that are actually specific, I don't remember exactly what. 3.2. But there's actual statistic that says the average person that.
And it has to be backed up with all the other entities that we work with. There's different ways of calculation.
Okay, I'm sorry, yeah, go ahead, keep going. Sorry.
No, that's okay, Jim. Knock it out.
All right, so an observation, take comment from perhaps Mike and anybody else, but I've heard this a few years. And this is fishes were farming elves. In fact, you laughed out. All of it, including Roe, I'm sorry to say. And I'm defending Roe in some part because we're hearing things, staff, from you, still aren't done. Still not sure with any confidence level from my perspective it's going to be done, where I would expect within a month an utter complete compliance of what we've asked, which I would think would include a plan and everything needed, including calculations to prove to this board and the community that this isn't going to happen. I almost think it's undignified that we're asking these questions as opposed to you folks taking the floor and saying, here's what we've considered. I would think other municipalities, and I invite both the engineers, if you were in Farmington Hills or Auburn Hills, would there be a plan in place as you came forward with your building program to say, okay, this works for right now, and when we get a certain point, we've got to reconsider. Has there been any dialogue, Bonnie, about an enduring solution? As we hope that they grow, what's going to happen? We hope that they grow, what's going to happen? I'm not hearing any of that. I'm not hearing any of that. Critical, yes, but critical.
Yeah,
That's
but you always
accent. That's all the accent.
Yes, you always are. You always are. So it's
I guess
okay.
that-
My first conversation with you, you told me seriously, I had that. So I get it.
If I run facilities for a business.
You were on board at the time, you stand up.
Okay, well, that's what I'm worried. And I'm worried about that you're not gonna be able to do
Well,
this.
and I appreciate you being worried, and I really do. But we are going to put the plan together and get it to you in the timeframe that we've been asked to do. And that's what's gonna happen. So I mean, I respectfully say, sit back and watch. Because.
I've heard it
you-
before, and that would be great.
No, you know what? You've heard it before, and we have done the things we've been asked to do. We
And we haven't
Yeah.
succeeded.
no, you know what?
There's always something that happens.
You know what? There's always something that happens everywhere, Jim. And the fact is that, I don't know, I mean, Farmington Hills or wherever, but there are other venues in Michigan that have a reoccurring situation with traffic volume and a reoccurring situation with people in gridlock. And it's just part of what happens. I mean, go to DT Energy, you know, the people that live around there know on big concert nights, don't even try weed ups. But the traffic is backed up if there's nothing to do with it. Ram Line, when they have their ball outing. I mean, it's a nightmare, but everybody that lives around there is used to the nightmare, and so we don't go shopping. Those are things that consistently happen. We've had things happen that, and I feel almost as though it's treated like a joke, but the truth is that it's not the same thing that's occurring every time. And so the only thing, unless you've got a crystal ball, I guess maybe you do, I don't. So the only thing I can do is respond to what's in front of me and what happens. And that's what I do, and that's what I'm doing.
I hear you, and proof will be in the pudding.
Thanks for that much respect. Thank you, Jim, very much.
Well, I'm looking at our minutes from April. And the guy that's putting on the Fourth Fest, he says that, don't worry, the overflow traffic with both, we will use both Mount Holly and the haunted house. So they said, Mount Holly, you can use their facility. They've already told, according to him, they can use his. So, you know, you're getting, I feel sorry for you, or he's giving us a line of bull. Somebody.
I just know I was told that they weren't going to hurt me. But
I
that was,
hope so.
I don't know about.
But I believe, I've heard that, I know the county didn't want to rent the parking lot.
Right.
I think $55,000 a year, every year. And since the traffic's been a lot lighter, they've actually been able to accommodate the normal ORV traffic in their parking lot. It's within the county of the ORV park. And I suspect when they have the rental to the various companies, some of them are government contractors. They go, I don't want nobody, get them all out of here. I don't even want to see what we're doing. So the only people there are some company people and some equipment that's shooting a commercial like the I know that we're saying you don't know what it is, but what we do know is every single year, the last 3 weekends are the worst. And nothing that I'm aware of has ever really been done to move that load, to spread it, because I think you could have more total people if you could encourage them somehow to go over the rest of the weekends, like the haunted house. And so we know, regardless of whatever the cause is, whether it's the parking crew didn't show up, or whether the sheriff was snotty to the residents that year, or whether they worked on Dixie Highway, the result is the same. The last 3 weekends are overwhelmingly heavier traffic. And whatever it is that causes the problem, the result is the same. It gets to be gridlock. And that's what my concern is. I don't have a problem with you trying things to improve it, because I think it will always help. But the problem is you have to have a fix that says, whatever we thought was going to work didn't work. This is what happens right now.
So, thank you, but not to mess up what you just stated there. I think the contingency plan, I don't want to get lost in semantics here, because when Mr. Christopher asked you about the scope of work, there's the traffic and parking study, there's the, and I'm speaking to you, Roger, sorry. There was the counts at this year's event for future use, and then there was the contingency plan. I want to make sure, in my understanding, am I correct that there's like the suggestions, the recommendations, the report that Roe will be giving, which is apart and separate from the contingency plan, which is what Mr. Palm is describing, and that's the fail-safe measure. If all else goes to hell in a handbasket, how do we avoid catastrophe from unfolding? Like, am I correct about it?
Exactly right.
So it's like an element of foresight reduced to written form that can be reviewed by a subject matter expert that gives us the assurance that nobody can guarantee the future. I get it, right? We don't have a crystal ball. Things happen that are out of people's control. But we sure as heck can sit here today and reasonably anticipate, based upon history, what can be expected.
And I think that's, and I think that's fair. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I think I guess that's how I feel that this, memo that will be forthcoming, now that Kathy's back here in Michigan and we can have,
I think that we have, I think the contingency plan is to have emergency overflow. Yeah,
I can read that to you.
no, I'm just telling you, that's what we've talked about before. The loss of the ability to use Monolith was a surprise, because that was part of every year thing. I mean, we were renting buses that sat dormant on the property because we didn't need them, but they were there in case we did. So, and we can, that's what I would anticipate us doing again, is making sure that the problem is that I don't know for sure now. There is another piece of property across Dixie Highway that we used one year, but then it was.
Kathy, Jenny, I respect everything you're saying, but we can, I mean, it's easy to sit here and just verbalize what should or will or could happen, and what happened in the past. Where rubber hits the road is when we have something that we can, you know, examine and review. We can pass by an expert. We can be relatively assured that the contingencies have been reviewed and ready to be.
I get it, and I respect what you're saying. And you're right, you're absolutely correct. And so we need more engineering to get everything in writing, correct? Maps, correct, and have that analysis in front of you. I get
And
it.
that was Angela's point a bit ago.
Yeah.
Just document everything. I
Document
mean,
everything.
you guys say that you're doing all this stuff, and I'm sure you are, but man, but it's right. It's gonna be good at the end of the day, right? So you wanna make sure that I's are dotted and T's are crossed. If there's one question from any one board member, and there's a good chance you may not get a permit. So it's like, do whatever you need to do to get everything in writing and even though it may seem simple. It may go a
It's not
long
simple,
way.
I get it. And it is necessary. I guess what happened, what has happened is that over the years we've gone through this, all of us. And that's never been spoken. I mean,
That being what, just for my clarification.
what she's saying, she's right. I mean, she's absolutely correct. But we've always come in, we've always talked to, and no one has ever said that you want it. I should have said it should be in writing. I get it. But that's just not what happened. And not any excuses, it's just not what happened.
Well, we
Anyway,
live to.
not with us, not with the board, not with anybody. So moving forward, it will have to happen.
Jason, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to her, like you guys are saying, it doesn't matter what I say right now, it should probably just be ready, so I do have contingencies, but.
We've had agreements on stuff before, then issues have come up, and then I find out about it after there's a mess there, like parking people didn't show up. Or parking lots wiped out. It's not like I got a checklist before we open, hey, we're probably gonna have some troubles on weekend 5 because 300 spots are out of the parking lot.
I agree with you, and just so, you know, is there a common ground for understanding as to what the report or the plan is apart, separate from the contingency? Yes. Everything Bob's described, that is like the plan B, the proverbial plan B, if there's issues, if parking capacity is, you know, beyond 90% or 95%, whatever triggers the, you know, execution of the contingency plan. That's what we're talking.
In Mount Holly was our contingency plan. for years.
Well,
I get it, it's just, that happened that happened without us knowing it. It's not like everybody feels that they need to share information about what's happening with other companies, well, our company.
and this is the benefit of having this discussion, because now you have the knowledge ahead of time. See, this is a perfect example,
No, I
actually.
don't know how it's getting done. I mean, so I need to find out, because there needs to be a contingency plan, but there has to be a way for us to. I can't really, if Mount Holly can't be used, and then we can't, you guys don't like about this, like, what is the guy's name?
I don't like that.
No,
Park
no,
on the
no.
other side.
Yeah,
that's a pedestrian
That's when people start running across the road and it cobbles up traffic because they're turning off both.
Yeah, 'cause we already said no to the gentleman that came in for the
Or
race or whatever, he wanted to do the same thing, and then, no.
so, yes, they've used Mount Holly in the past. The part you're getting left out here is if we don't know the full detail to the nuance, which is what Angela was asking, it creates a problem. You can have 6 buses sitting in Mount Holly's parking lot, but there's no drivers in it, which happened one year. And the drivers called in and said, I'm stuck in a traffic jam, I can't get there for a couple hours.
They drive the buses out.
They weren't, the buses were already there, and they didn't show up.
Oh, I don't.
And that was one year, I'm just saying.
we're gonna let you.
I just would like to ask a question, Kathy, what is your maximum capacity for your grounds?
I don't know the exact, I say 34,000. I mean, and we don't like that number. Okay,
No.
It is what it is,
well,
just like your 3.2
yeah, but you can't,
average times 10,000 cars will put you there. So when your parking lot's full, and you're hitting your capacity.
The 34,000, so you understand how it is. The NFP, the National Fire Prevention, that everybody goes by, the way it counts, has categories, different kinds of events. Now, there is no category that says Renaissance, okay? It says something like open air activity,
Right.
okay? And based on that, they take gross acreage. You take any buildings, that's all those little shops and those food places, they add up all that square foot, they take it out, and then they say you should be able to fit X number of people in X square feet. That's how they come up with the 34,000. But again, if you look at the festival, it's not really the number. I don't think it is either. You get 34,000 people, they'll be bunched up for the most part in the food
they won't.
area. And they can't. My son has gone there and said, Dad, don't go today, you can't even move in the place, because way before 34,000, it will be jam packed. It could theoretically, if they were spread out over the entire acres, but that's hard to do.
But there is a plan for that, correct? We talked about it. I mean, the plan is for the second gate, so that we're feeding it from both ends. Right now, everybody, doesn't matter where you park them, they all go in the same gate.
Or you put two different entrance gates in there?
In the south parking lot. I don't know how it's gonna work exactly. We can't build the road and build that all at the same time. But I still have to talk to Jim Peterson, but at the very least, we could put a temporary one with tents and the sides, so people feel like they weren't losing the experience entirely. But if we could load from both ends of the festival, it would spread those people out, because right now, for the first hour and a half, 2 hours of the show, yeah, nobody's out at the other end of the show, nobody.
So, just a quick comment on the contingency plan. I know we've talked about that quite a bit, and I just want to give my thoughts. Coming down. Last year, we had the ambulance issue going the wrong way. We couldn't get ambulances down Perryville Road. Those are safety issues.
It's not a neighborhood inconvenience issue.
To me, the moment it appears either of those can happen, I'm gonna want to hear step by step what the contingency is to prevent those from happening. I'm very, very clear about that. It's not an inconvenience issue, it's a safety issue. I want to know the moment Even though there's no parking signs, no cars are getting towed, cars are filling up on Perryville, we can't get an ambulance down there. Can't get an ambulance down Dixie without going the wrong way. What's your response? That's what I'm gonna do.
Point.
One last thing, if you want to do something because of the ORV park, I think the Renaissance Festival has to approach the county park people. I can't go to Oakland County and say, I don't want you to use the park on some weekends in the summer, because they pretty much close it in the winter anyway. So if you think that something like Forfest is wrong, I think we need to go to the park people and say, can we have some discussion on these weekends where we can decide if you can move your event or whatever? And I'm not saying they will, but I can't tell them to do that.
Or
I just can't.
I mean, it's just.
And I think he has a lot of money spent over that week for that 4th year deal.
And my hope is that I think that we'll fight for the line chart. I mean, for years that's what we were told, is that we had to do that. We had to have it. Nobody cared if it cost how much it cost to have the buses with drivers in them, sitting there. So, and I never even thought anybody should care. But the point is that that's what we did, and that was the backup, the overflow. I mean, there was one year that we made all of our employees park in Mount Holly, trying to make that work more effectively. It wasn't. But all I can do is report back to you as quick as I can, what I find out. And I will be working diligently this week.
And I think this is why it's beneficial for Bonnie to be here, as well as Mike also, because you're getting
A first-hand sense
of where the recurring issues are.
helpful for all purposes.
I want to redirect the discussion back to the points that were raised following your April 26th meeting. There's 2 left. They're not significant.
I think before we do that, though, I just have to make sure that on the maps.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Angela, we still have the road engineering update and pertaining specifically to the driveway and the traffic flow. Because I know there's been a proposal, or there's something in the works with regard to addition of a driveway. Okay, so we'll leave that for the road engineering update and the scouring of the maps. But for the last 2 points on the follow last meeting, the next one was research options, ideas for a priority vehicle notification for residents. This was not a requisite from the commission. It is included in the minutes as a discussion point. Again, we would encourage you to have an update on this, whatever that update might be. Your response was, we have looked at several options, but we are waiting for a flag that would attach to the car, one that is easy on, easy off, very similar to the ones used by funerals.
Well, Danielle helped me figure out possibly who I should order. So they're ordered, and that's what they are, just like they use for funeral. And so I think the directions that they're gonna get written directions with them. I think that they're gonna take a walk and driving around. You need to put them on when they leave it. You need to put them on and go back. The sheriff's department, I mean, we have been a hostile group sometimes with the residents, but the residents get that hostile. So I think it's fair for them to have to identify themselves to be go back in, right? But they're pretty low flag, so they should feel very special.
All right.
Well, there's, the sheriff's department, one of the things that they were trying to talk to them about it is, well, I couldn't see me in the windshield, or they didn't put it in the windshield. This is not gonna get lost in the windshield. It's very visual right there. There, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, any questions, comments, concerns on that item? And then finally, the next point was more frequent communications, emails from the festival. This is probably the joint effort
Between you and or Kathy.
regarding progress made.
It was noted to be at least weekly update, if not more frequent.
Maybe this
Was not so much a concern, just a kind of a cleanup item.
Your response was, this is easier said than done, getting all these departments, people to move with a sense of urgency.
Indicated, Kim.
They're making.
We are. And I will be able to focus. I hate to say it, but I will be able to, now that I'm here, I will be able to focus. I'm not trying to work on actual knowledge of Florida and this one. And that's not an excuse. I don't even think that's what it is, but it just will be easier. And I will focus on it.
Wonderful. So that's an excellent tie-up for the festival progress update. I guess next item on the agenda is alluded to earlier.
One question,
Engineering update. Go ahead.
before we leave this, back up to the other bullet where we kind of. We have
The person who's working on it has gotten he had to go through and find which one would work best for us. I didn't realize what it was. We have one that can accommodate how much we're gonna have to use it. And the purchaser was saying it's gonna order. So as soon as I get something from them, again, it's supposed to be set for stuff. We have to have a dedicated computer for it. And then person when it's and I don't remember.
Do you think it'll likely be ready by the time you start?
Absolutely. I'm hoping to have it ready within the next couple of weeks because we will start using it in the marketing tool. Because what, well, but that'll be, that's the reason they sign up. They're not gonna sign up, so if I tell them to sign up for this app, because then I can tell you it will close because we're too busy. They're not gonna sign up. But if I tell them that they get the tickets, or if I tell them they're gonna turkey leg, then they'll sign up.
Yeah.
We need to have time.
Okay. Now, on to the next item on the agenda, is Groveland engineering
Update. I guess
If you have anything specific, it's to add in addition to what you already indicated.
I have an idea of exactly what you guys are looking for and how I can help Kathy out with getting down. So
we have to just make sure.
Well, and
yes.
And then since we're at the questions, it's just with regard to maybe there was sufficient information in the package to answer a lot of questions I had. Just generally speaking, if you can recap what it is that's being in the pushed through at this point with regard to the addition of the new south exit.
Yeah, okay, so we have the south parking lot, we have the one way in, which is also the exit. It's, like I said earlier, it's wide enough for a car. So basically what's been happening is there has to be a police officer to let people out during those busy times. And if too many, which is what happened this year, if everybody comes in the middle, not in the morning, not in the afternoon, they're all coming at the same time. That just didn't work, it just backed up. So the way it's gonna go is that everybody that's coming from the south is gonna park in the south parking lot. They're gonna stay in the left-hand lane, and that's the only lane they can turn from, they won't be turning to what's in. So they're gonna turn into that parking lot. I've ordered a big sign that's on a stanchion that will be in the road with the police officer that says exit or entrance only. And then once they get in, then the signs will say enter, enter, enter. On the back of the sign, it says no exit. The other side is going to be strictly exit. And that traffic will be going then south again, right? And they're going to have to stay on the outside. And the two lines back at the one that are staying inside whatever space. So exiting should be easy, entering will be much easier, but always that.
So,
Number paragraphs.
Email.
May 9th. This is to you. Subject revised South Bradley general plan. There's reference to construction. What, I guess, could you elaborate a bit more on what is going to need to be reconstructed?
It's for putting in a driveway, not putting a road. So there's certain criteria we have to meet and do that's in that. There's certain types of aggregate that has to go in different ways. We're working with like Ryan Excavating. He's good, he's been in business for a long time, and he's putting it together. He's also pulled all the permits for it. So that's all in process.
So again, pardon my ignorance, this is new construction.
Yeah.
So it's
So
not.
it's not an enhancement of an existing access. This is a
New access point altogether.
It's what we wanted to do for years. That wasn't anybody's fault here, but it just never was allowed. But if we could have the traffic come in, and the whole thing looks like a circle, I was drawing a tiny map. It goes and then it comes back out. So it's just, it only makes common sense that if you have specific entry, specific exit, that it's gonna go better.
So in theory, wonderful. In practice, is there any issues or timing considerations, any logistical concerns with regard to accomplishment from the townships?
I don't know, I'm not in a position to be able to state whether or not that's enough time to get the road built.
Well, that's why we've gone ahead and jumped the gun.
Okay.
And put the, I mean, we're
Ask
putting.
me after we build our road,
we're-
that's our road.
We're putting the permits in without knowing that you will approve it. We're having product hauled in and deposited at our property, so it's ready to be distributed if you do or if you don't want us, right? I mean, I guess if you guys in the end deny the road, then we'll have some good piles to get rid of.
Or you can win it at the joust, right, or something.
Something. But we're going forward, and like Ryan has been, and we've been talking to him, we're working at it as though we already have to.
Well, if
Because we have to.
You've got a construction contractor
Yes.
that's waiting in the wings. That's an
He's
accomplishment.
not even waiting, the wings is actively involved.
Yeah, he's someone that we've been using for about 15 years, so it's based out of Holly, and it's a pretty big outfit, so he come in without problem, had this thing built, that's what he does.
He was a little unsure when I started
telling him.
Yes, I know.
Yes,
we
I
don't
know.
have to make that, I mean, from you guys. But we still have to do it, and we just kept saying, well, okay, but if we go in there and we put all this in, and we have all this stuff deposited, you're spending all this money, what happens if it doesn't work, and then it doesn't work? But I'm counting on it working. And that's the only way to have time to get it done.
If he's a excavator that's gonna, you gotta strip all the topsoil.
Yep.
Trees out.
There's no
Put
trees.
the right kind of aggregate down.
It's
This
going
is
right-
the process. building a road.
Yeah, it's going right in front of the berm, so the only thing that's there is grass.
So what is the plan to at least bring that over to the township, or is that already?
We asked for it. It was part of the original ask.
Third vision for that part.
In front, yes, there is.
So you gotta get culvert.
Yep, and that's, yeah, and we'll have to, we have to get all of that. That's secondary to the road, but the road commission's aware of it, and they don't see a problem with it.
Janelle, did you have a comment, a question?
Yes, my only thought was that I believe that will have to be something that is part of their site plan review. And at this point, we do not have any documentation for an updated site plan. And it sounds like even what's here is not actually accurate. Now, with that, that also means there would be a public hearing, and there's 15 days notice for publication prior to that actual public hearing meeting. And that would be the biggest concern and time barrier that you're going to run into. And I can tell you right now, if you waited until your next meeting, it will be after your 60-day window, which may be acceptable to you as commissioners, but that is a decision that you will need to make. Did that make sense?
Good point.
Sorry. Is that too much?
No.
Okay.
It's not too much.
So just some,
Not enough.
yeah, so just some information there. So I'm just so that you have an idea of what you're looking at.
So we need to resubmit the site plan with the accurate information, and it has to be needed.
Now, here are the dates just for you, Kathy. If you set with that 60-day deadline, you would be looking at June 21st, which is exactly 60 days. That would also entail an additional meeting. It would be a special meeting. If you said, oh, okay, let's do this at our June 28th meeting, that again, that is up to you guys for whatever you decide. Then the dates would be different. But if we went with that 20 or that 60-day window, that would be June 21st, which means it would be published in the paper on June 4th, which means we would need it in the June. We would need to have it to the newspaper for public hearing by June 1st, which is next.
Are you thinking they need a variance? Is that why you're saying ownership? Because in our site plans, we don't need ownership.
For a public hearing, I don't know. This is just the information that I've been told.
Okay, typically, I'm not saying you're wrong, I just can't honestly remember, but typically, you need public notifications for variance requests. But
First
site plans come in
site plan
all the time. I
review,
don't
yeah.
know if they have a public notice for site plans. I don't remember ever seeing one, but we can check with them.
Yeah, and we can confirm that for sure.
That's okay, we'll go ahead and act like it.
Okay.
I mean, I do know you need a
Right,
roll commission,
right.
culvert and all
Oh,
that.
no, absolutely. But we are talking to them, so it's, you know, so we'll just have to do that.
Can I ask a question? Is it possible when you get some of these signs like entrance only, all this, stuff, could we?
Prior to opening, just kind of go through and see the changes? I mean, obviously, we get
My
permission.
intention is to get with Dean this week and go over it with him. Do you remember on the site plan where there was one page dedicated to signs? Okay, so those signs, that page is outdated, and that has to be updated. So hopefully I can have that to you by maybe Monday or Tuesday. Because it's not complicated, it's just.
Well, I just like to see
No.
them in actuality and say,
Oh,
oh, yeah,
see
this
that.
is so much better
Yeah.
when it's done.
I'd like to suggest that somebody from the planning commission, for your own edification, be in charge of saying, before we meet the permit. Somebody's gone out, gone over a checklist.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Because in the past, I know when I was at PC, it's a long time ago, we used to have some of that and go over it at the beginning. So I think that's a worthwhile step that perhaps will eliminate if something is awry, not knowing it before it opens.
Could that be something we table for formal next meeting? Yes. Yes.
I'm just suggesting, somebody
No,
should be able to say, yep, these are the things we asked for, and yep, they're all there.
I'm still stuck on the timing of the approval for
Yeah.
the driveway. And I would invite other thoughts on this. Personally, I would like to stick to the 60-day window. If we have to call a special meeting, if we have to do various, notification to affected residents, whatever.
And I have just received confirmation that yes, that is required. I did. I'm like, just making sure that I said this properly.
So we're basically
And I'll
doing
be
it long forever.
What was that?
This is basically we've been doing it long forever.
Have you made changes to the property?
Over the 20 years I've worked there, yes.
Yeah, probably. Just if you don't mind me putting in just a little tiny blurb to kind of tag along with what Bob was just mentioning. Just as a reminder, Holly Township is planning on going along with the guidelines that we provide. So that checklist, whatever it may be helpful to definitely have done sooner rather than later. So if you do decide to do a special meeting, I guess two things. First of all, I would recommend that you make that motion today so that you can set that for a special meeting time. You can do that right here in this meeting. And then second, if you are going to come up with that checklist to provide to Holly Township, it just may be nice. And maybe we're not at a point there where you're ready to provide that to them, but they do plan on for their special use permit, going along with the same suggestions that this commission has recommended.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No.
I can repeat anything or go back. I just want to make sure I've got everything we need today, y'all.
Let's keep, again, keep those items in sequence for regard to for the special permit for the driveway.
That would require
a motion to convene a meeting for consideration of recommending of the new site plan. Thank you, Kathy. Yeah.
That's one of the papers first.
That's an
Yeah, well, I mean, you can call a special meeting at any point, but since you are here in the public, it's a good opportunity to motion to make that meeting and set that time. So that June 21st is exactly 60 days, which is 1 week prior to your traditional, your regularly scheduled PC meeting.
And you're talking 60 days before they open up the event.
If you wanted to stick within that 60-day window for approving their special use permit, that is the 60-day deadline. And if you want to see all of this, am I losing you guys? I'm so sorry. If you want to see all of this, the site plan, then the notification has to be sent to the paper next Wednesday in order for us to have the proper time frame.
So the checklist has to be satisfied by the 21st.
No.
The checklist is different, correct?
Well, the
So everything
checklist,
on the checklist has to be done by the 21st.
according to your original requirements, was that a 60-day window was what you wanted for everything to be done. Now, obviously, you can't, at this point, there's no way for a road to be completed if that's what you decide that is required. However, that site plan could be approved at that 60-day mark, along with everything else that you've required. So if you're sticking to that deadline.
But then that would mean that you would have, someone would have to fabricate a checklist outside this meeting, and I don't know if technically you can do that, right?
No, you would still do that in your meeting. You could do it at that 60-day mark for Holly Township if you feel that that they've done everything that you've asked so far.
So
would it be possible to convene a special meeting to consider the site approval?
at the special meeting, devise the checklist, subject to the
Approval maybe later.
You can even,
That's a week inside of the 60 days. I get it, but is that an acceptable?
That's a problem for me. And I'll tell you why. The week of the 28th, I have business over in CS. I'm gone that whole week.
well, that meeting is already on the agenda.
No, I did that.
Yeah,
but
so-
I'm just saying that if there's any vote, it would be without me.
Yeah. And you would still have a quorum, so that's okay.
Before. Right, whatever you guys wanna do.
My next question, this might not be the right time, but it feels like it might be. What did Alex say about this driveway?
That was a question I had too.
About this driveway?
Alex?
Yeah.
That's not, yeah.
No, Alex is the traffic engineer.
Well, no one has suggested that we shouldn't do it. I mean, everybody has been, there's been people that were concerned about the timeframe. So.
Well, but I'm just wondering, the county's traffic engineer, what did he say about, does that permit application?
He has it. I don't know what, I mean, that was Chip's working on it up until now. So. I guess
That's
it's- No, I understand. I understand.
He's acutely aware of all that's been going on over the years, as long as he's been there. Seems to me, want to comment from you on that.
whether that's something that we should be our outside engineer.
So he knows a lot. A good idea that, I think he, unless he said okay to it over the years, I mean, I don't know, but certainly it's there. Just throwing that out there, you might want to get,
It's
they
not
usually have a permit review.
It really
And-
isn't as suddenly it's there.
No,
This is
wait,
like the third or fourth time that we've put it in.
I'm not trying to be adversarial here. I'm just saying 99% of the time when a permit comes into the road commission, the traffic and safety department has something to say about it. And the permits get approved or they don't, or things get changed or something like that. So the idea though, that this one, as critical as it sounds like it is, like Alex would want to comment on that, or want to know that it's going to happen. You won't think that's the case. I don't know.
So the question I have, and thank you for that, Mike, would Alex and the approval of the road commission be a precondition to our consideration of the issue? If we were to convene a special meeting?
Yeah, they can deny it, whether you guys say yes or no.
Well,
It's a private road.
It's not, it's just a drive.
It's a driveway permit. They have to get a driveway permit.
Right.
He can deny it if he wants to. That's all I'm saying.
And I guess there would be reasons that somebody could come up with that he would want to deny it. But
Well,
I don't.
there's
know
so
what-
many things going on right now with this. It feels like it's another thing being added to a rather complex situation that maybe he says, well, wait a minute, maybe you don't want to spend the money on that. I'm just saying, throwing that out there. Because the road commission is the one that's ideally, or not ideally, they are accepting the liability for this driveway coming out onto their road. So whether or not he should have a say in it, it seems like he should.
Well, I guess,
Mr. Kathy, we can all speculate as to the commission's, the road commission's
response to that application.
Right.
Again, in my view,
you
deal with issues such as you're identifying, like when they rise. And in this case, I wouldn't want to await road commission approval, pre-approval, if you will, of the driveway proposal. Because if it comes,
Every other
we have already scheduled a special meeting, we're gonna be way down the line, and it's gonna be too late. We're gonna be well within the 6 days. I would almost propose, if it's not doable, just to schedule, hopefully gain approval here tonight to schedule a special meeting. Kathy will continue in good faith to garner whatever approval may be necessary through the road commission, given the concern you've raised. But hopefully anticipating the road commission's historical knowledge of the issues we're dealing with, they would meet that with ready approval. That would be the assumption, and if it's a safe assumption, then we're in position on June 21st to review.
And I certainly am not gonna become the person that listens to just negative comments and people throwing things that speculating on what problems are still out there and not moving. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
We could sit here and do that all night long.
So we'll proceed here tonight. We'll hopefully field a motion with approval of the commission to schedule a special meeting. And if in fact the road commission denies that request, then I suppose,
we won't have much to talk about if
no,
at all.
Yeah, what that really means is there goes a good chunk of their plan in terms of traffic flow. So road
But
would
that's
have
why
to
you
go
keep
back and
looking at
reevaluate, right?
We have to move forward in a positive direction. Because if we don't, if we just sit back and say, well, they're probably going to deny it, somebody's saying they're going to deny it, blah, blah, blah. So we don't move, we don't try to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. I I can't even formulate a way to express that,
Well,
or
for
what little sense it makes.
Then maybe it would be, collateral support for your efforts if the road commission is aware that the planning commission for the township is awaiting their approval so that this
Sure.
can be. And open up, speaking out of turn with regard to that, but I agree with you. Let's keep the pedal down, let's be proactive and we'll deal with the aisles once they're in.
That's all I know, Alice is a perfectly nice guy.
Yeah.
Okay, see, I'll listen.
Yes, Janelle,
Did I say something?
please do.
No, did I say something? Was I supposed to say something?
I thought you had raised your hand.
I might have been talking to myself. I don't know. I'm good. I'm good. I was like,
If you don't have anything to say, that's not a bad thing, right?
I know I'm like, I don't know, maybe. I think I was thinking to myself, I am very interested. I know you've just had the opportunity to kind of hear about things. If you have any suggestions at some point, I would love to hear what they have to say as more experts. I know that this is kind of preliminary,
Yeah,
Well,
or are we not there yet?
well, I think the only thing that's important is that you read the first task in our proposal.
Let's come back.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that I think is important. Beyond that.
Enough.
you're talking about page 1 of the May 12th
Yep.
agreement,
Yeah, the
under
first-
scope of services,
yeah,
item
first
1.
Yep.
Duly noted.
Especially after sitting here tonight, and I kind of knew a lot about this already. But sitting here tonight, listening to the concerns, and it's a after all these years, it seemed like this should be a really smooth operating system, and it's not. Sounds like. Not for that. These are things that should have been worked out a long time ago, it sounds like. I just saying. So I think the idea of sitting everybody down, starting with a clean sheet of paper here a little bit, would be a good idea.
Better late than never.
There's a lot of things that you can do that I've worked on, I don't know, all kinds of speedways and college football games, all kinds of stuff. But I can tell you that they're all a little bit different. This has a little bit different fan arrival and departure and all that stuff, aside from the strike that goes on for a couple of months. But you need a traffic management plan. And that's how it's got to go.
Well, I kind of compare it to this. Maybe you've heard this said before. This whole process, my indoctrination into the planning commission and the role of local government. This process.
This
with the
process
Renaissance
is Renaissance
Festival,
Festival.
It's like watching sausage being made, right? It's not pretty, but it tastes really good in the end. That's my hope. Right?
Would you like
I
that
hope you're
documented
right.
in the
Not
notes?
been easy, but we're getting there.
You get it there, yeah.
We're getting there. So if maybe I would invite a motion at this time for the scheduling of a special meeting of the planning commission. That would be June 21st, as indicated, for the purpose of reviewing a proposed.
Can we make it earlier than June 21st? Let's make it. How available are people?
Nah.
The problem is the notice. We have to
Right,
give
right.
notice.
If we have it first, it has to go in the paper. It has to be done the 21st. Can we do it maybe the week before, the 14th?
No, because the first is just getting it to the paper, which means it will be published the 4th, which would provide 15-day notice
Okay.
before the
Okay,
meeting. Now, alternately, and this may be something that you decide, I'm so sorry, I kind of am backpedaling here, but if for some reason this can't come together, then you will have called this meeting for no reason. So you may want to just wait and call a special meeting, which is fine. You can do that at another time. We just need to make sure we have enough notice, a couple weeks down the road.
Not sure.
not sure.
So, okay, so for whatever reason, if this can't come together to be put in the paper, if there's no site plan, if there's nothing for you to do in that meeting, and we can't get all these ducks in a row in time, then you will have just scheduled this meeting for nothing. So they can call the special meeting. You can still plan on that schedule with just not having it motioned and set in stone just yet. Is that?
So you still go ahead with getting the site plan, getting the notice in the newspaper.
So you're still following that same plan. It's just, they will not formally call the meeting until.
Once we see everything.
Yes, yes. My husband hates it.
Summarize.
Work the plan.
And then make sure everything's coming together, and then when it looks like it's good,
Then call the meeting.
then we call a meeting, and we don't need to have, and then we're not locked in stone. If we make a motion tonight, we are locked in, and we have to have that meeting.
Correct.
So right now, we could have an informal, just checking the schedule. because
Correct.
There could be some.
So you can
And then
tentatively
who calls
plan.
that- who calls that meeting?
Jeff, you could call that meeting just like we would a special township board meeting, Jim, Bob. And then I believe that's a 48-hour notice. So we would need to provide 48-hour notice where we put on our Facebook and webpage to say, hey, there will be a special planning commission meeting that same day, June 21st. It's where you could all still plan to meet. It's just, if you motion it today, then you've set that. So you might want to just wait to make sure all the pieces pull together before you officially set it.
Yeah.
What was that? Is it 18? It may be 18 hours. As I said it, I thought maybe it's 18 hours. So we would just want to make sure that was set by, actually the 19th would be sufficient. Even really Monday, the 23rd. you could probably do that.
All the meeting.
Well, then if everyone's good with that, kind of going with the dare I say contingency plan for the next meeting, I would be certainly in line and willing to call a special meeting should the road commission fall.
Then we would be ready. I would suggest without it. So we could convene on a timely basis at the appropriate hour.
Probably not.
Any motion approval for this evening's meeting.
No, my only suggestion would be just clarification for moving forward from here. What we're moving toward before you meet next.
Okay, go right.
I was gonna say, and if you want me to just reiterate what.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not, this is all you guys. These are just deadlines I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of for those purposes. So again, next Wednesday by noon is really when they like the information for the paper, which will be published next Saturday. That would give you a 15-day window prior to the June 21st ideal special board meeting. Following Wednesday or the following Tuesday, June 28th, is your regularly scheduled board meeting. In either of those windows or either of those meetings, if you so choose to come up with a checklist for Holly Township, I do know that they are expecting, that list at some point. Maybe it's been some of the things that you've already identified. Maybe it's concerns that are raised after you look at their submitted site plan. I don't know the answer to that, and that's up to you as a commission. So, I mean, maybe right now it's just, we need a site plan. I do have just a point of information. Was the additional road there, your recommendation, Bonnie?
Yeah, that was what the office had come up with. Kathy had dealt with that. So,
Okay.
and it,
Well, it just,
I was just going back,
scheme of things,
if that was a projected help, that was kind of one of Bob's questions. And that might be another piece of information you have.
And I was just saying, deadline for the-
But you have to have a meeting.
What was that?
She has to get it like a
Right, you want.
To be in the board packet,
Yeah.
it needs to be Monday by 4 PM the week before,
Which would be the 20th.
which would be for your special meeting. Yes, the 20th by 4 PM. If you want, I'm sorry, if you want it for your special board meeting, it would be, need to be in by the 13th.
Is that
Problem.
problem
13 to 4 p.m.
for the row report? For consideration at the proposed special meeting on the 21st? So that's a yes? Okay, thank you. Thanks.
But June 13th is when you.
So we can get it.
And just to clarify, is that with what they are coming up with as a contingency or just interim reports? What are we looking for in that?
I mean,
Sorry, you guys, you have to deal with me because I have to make sure I have to relay it all back to Danielle. I just want to know what I need to tell her is coming.
That's why I think.
That's a question for your commissioners.
It needs to be all addressing all of the bullet points, including the interim report provided by Rowe. That the contingency plan is actually put together by the Renaissance Festival. So says everything what we had discussed, you know, all your protocols in writing, come up with as well as a plan in case something defaults, right? And you have to pull the trigger. Once your stuff involved, that's the Renaissance Festival, that's not Rome. So I would recommend that they need to come forward by June 13th, addressing all of the bullets ready for the 21st, because if you guys are finally seeing it on the 28th and you have an issue, that's supposed to be the point of time of issuing the permit.
Yeah, we all agree.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not unfair.
That way that gives you some time to work through any last minute issues, right?
Okay, so.
If I'm in trouble, I'm replying to it.
So then I guess to tie up our discussion here tonight, Jenny, if you would, there was there's been a lot of discussion regarding the points that were raised following our April 26th scheduled meeting. Those were, discussed here tonight. Some of them were addressed, some of them, there's a little, meat still, turkey meat still on the bone.
Still on the bone.
Left to be.
So
Jenny, would you,
for the record, summarize those so we can.
would require a vote and an approval of a motion to have those items reflected on the agenda? or
You can,
reflected on
yeah.
the minutes as a board request?
Yeah.
Flowing out of tonight's meeting. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay.
So of the bullet points that you have stated, I know May 16th.
I chose in addition.
Indicate the usage of digital signs, that it has been met, everything
Regarding that has been met.
second bullet point, provide copy of sheriff's post orders. We're in need of
That we did not get that email.
Yeah, did you see that in the, I did see as I was thumbing through, Danielle did make mention to that in an email correspondence that she actually did not receive those, just as an FYI. So she does not have a copy of those.
the research the possibility of I-75 sign usage, which Jason, I think, studies.
To that this week.
So we need some research overriding the GPS system, right? Yeah, right. Just needs one to do. And we're working on the road work to the Tuesday, people on the Sunday usage. So we just need a contract. Yep, there we go. One with the road commission to check on this. So we just need something from them saying that, yes, they applicant extra check and got your receipt, but will they truly be installing? First 1 week. 1 week. And then the last two bullet points have been met, that we looked at several options leading toward the flag and purchase of flag facility in the college. And I mean, good communication would be great, but we're really getting down to the deadline. Yeah.
So how are you going to get ready now for purposes of you?
I mean, yeah, you can make the motion that the board requests that the following items be completed and fulfilled no later than the 13th. If it needs to be included in the packet, is that the day, Monday? Yes, by Monday, June 13th by 4 p.m. If that is your request.
I would like to make motions. I just listed. Provided to Danielle on Monday, June 13th, for our special meeting. May happen. I guess don't say special.
Worst case scenario, if that checklist is still met, then you will just discuss it at your next meeting on the 28th.
So the motion is stated, seconded. Is there any further discussion, questions,
Yeah,
concerns
I want
before
more
we take a vote?
Yeah, I want more detail as all the bullet points that you stated were ones that for the most part they met.
Right.
Okay, you wanted it right, right? Yes. Yes, so with me, the big thing is provide all the details as it pertains to the contingent as well as your standard protocols when it comes to
The traffic flow in and
so
out.
what are you doing today? What's a part of your process? Then on top of that, what is your contingency plan in detail?
It's
Exactly, that's what we were kind of discussing earlier, and I don't think we quite counted that bullet that came out.
I didn't include that only because they requested it up front.
Yeah, I want to make sure that on records, to me, that is the critical item. on this list.
Want to add that to the
Okay.
And thank you for being so flexible.
Yeah. Would you mind if I clarify this motion?
Absolutely.
Okay. McKay motioning to make a requirement that the Renaissance Festival complete the following no later than 4 p.m. on Monday, June 13th, with support of Shank. This is including the amendment from Commissioner Willis. Indications that the digital signs have been met, so that documentation, the sheriff post orders being submitted, I-75 sign usage contract required and submitted. The update on the GPS system that it sounds like Jason is working with. The road commission commitment documentation to show that these will actually be here, which I know there was some discussion about that. And the requirement of a fulfilled contingency plan, including standard protocols, traffic flow, et cetera, with a plan of action in case these are not fail-safe. Would you like to change anything, update anything, add anything?
No. I think we're ready for a vote.
We can do a roll call just for. All right, I gotta find you. Lachlan,
Yes.
Yes.
Newbell,
Yes.
McKay,
Yes.
Shank,
Yes, ma'am.
Willis,
Yes.
Christopher,
Yes.
Penzine.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
So the motion as stated is approved.
Yes, that would bring to a close
The
whole business item on the agenda for tonight.
With regard to what remains on tonight's agenda, we have the monthly.
That is included in the packet for the commission members, unless there's further discussion or questions concerning that. I would leave it to some discretion. And the last remaining item, again, we would defer to Michelle first for the zoning ordinance update.
Unless-
That got postponed. Yes. You're good. No, we're.
If the police show up tomorrow, we don't know nothing about it.
Unless there's anything further, I would.
I would like to make a announcement. Is anybody interested in helping put up our flags for Memorial Day? You know, we put up over 650 flags at the Ortonville Cemetery. On Friday, I'm going to be putting out the stakes at 8 o'clock. Saturday at 7:30, we pound in the stakes. And again, there's over 650 flags. Sunday at 6 a.m., we put out the flags. And by the way, Sunday night, the Boy Scouts spend the night protect the flags because somebody did steal them years and years when they first started it. Monday at 6 p.m., we take them down. So if anybody's interested, I've been doing it for years. It's a lot of fun, but most people only don't like to pound in the stakes. But the ground is wet, so it's easy. But putting out the flags, and sometimes there's just little kids that are coming. And I only hand them one flag, and they carry it out, put it in the truck, and they get to unravel it and put it. It's really neat to see these little kids do that. I mean, you think I'm weird, but we're really is. But if anybody would like to come and help us put up flags. No,
10:15.
10:15, that's where we have all those flags. And I touch every one of them and hand them all. I used to take them out of a box, carry them out of a box. Okay, done?
Thank you. Yes, at this time, a motion to.
Can I make a motion that we adjourn for today?
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Say one little thing. Thank you for the opportunity. This will be fun.
Thank you.
All right. Everybody have a good night.